Hello. We're going to start genetics problems, set number 2, that focus on codominance. And you should see this file posted in our shared folder on Google Drive. So, step 1. Step 1 says to read and dissect the problem. So let's see what we have. So it says, a white flowered plant, big W, big W. So they gave us the phenotype and the genotype. A white flowered plant is crossed with a red flowered plant, big R, big R. Assuming the flower color alleles are codominant, what are the expected geno and phenotypic ratios of the offspring? Got it. So what do we know? We know that we have a white flowered big W plant crossed with a red flowered big R plant. All right, so let's define our alleles. So remember, this is codominance, so everything is dominant. Everything is capital. Nothing masks anything else. Everything is expressed. So big R is red, and I'm writing these in this order because you always do things in genetics alphabetically, even though in the problem the W is first. So big R is for red flowers, and big W is for white flowers. This is codominant, so when the plant carries either allele, it expresses it. So what happens when a big W is crossed with big R, big R? All right, so let's draw ourselves our parents. Most people don't think of plants as being parents, but yet biologically that's totally how it works. So let's make this first plant the white plant. So the phenotype is that it's white. What is it physically? It's white. And then the problem tells us that it's big W for the genotype, like such. And then the other plant is red. I should put flower in here too. And then big R. And we're going to cross these two. So, Punnett square. Now, compared to the blood typing question, these Punnett squares are pretty simple. So, contribution. And now, what do you notice about all of the possible offspring? They're all RW. Like such. So, the problem that asks for your genotypic and phenotypic ratios. Genotypic ratio, of which there are 3. You always list them alphabetically. Big R, big R, big R, big W, little w, alphabetically. All right, so how many of the big R do we have? 0. Big R, big W, 4. Big W, 0. So then our phenotypic ratio. Now for your phenotypes here, here's what's interesting about codominance. There's 3 of them. And these phenotypes are the expression of these genotypes. So whatever order you've done the genotypes, you then put the resulting phenotype in the same order. So big R genotype, when this is expressed, codes for red flowered plants. Big R little w codes for red and white. Remember, this is codominance. Both alleles are expressed, red and white. And then WW makes for white flowers. Now, what makes it simple on the phenotypic ratio of codominance is these numbers come straight down. In codominance with plants, the genotypic and the phenotypic numbers are the same. And this is question number 1. We read the problem, we defined our alleles, listed our parents, produced our square, and then answered the question. So let's take a look at question number 3. I'm going to skip number 2 because it's a blood typing question, and I've already shown you a couple of examples on blood typing. So question number 3. Question number 3 says a green and yellow feathered parrot. Again, all of these questions are real. I don't make the genetics up. So if we're talking about parrots, if we're talking about, these happen to be roses, whether we're talking about human biology with blood typing, I looked these crosses up, and these allele combinations are all real. So green and yellow parrot is crossed with a green parrot. It doesn't tell us male or female. Fine. Then it says that the flower color alleles of these parrots are codominant. Fine. And then it wants just phenotypic ratios. That's it. All right. So first part, we read it. Now let's define our alleles. So green and yellow. So let's use G, course capital, because everything's dominant. Now usually we wouldn't use Y for yellow because uppercase and lowercase y look the same. However, this is codominance, so nothing is the lowercase, nothing is recessive. So we can go ahead and use the Y knowing what it stands for, in that it is yellow feathers. So big G for green feathers and big Y, capital Y, for yellow feathers. All right, then we need ourselves a parrot. Parrot, lovely. And then we need ourselves a parrot. You say, how do you tell the difference between the male and the female? Easy. There you go. There's a male and female parrot. All right, so then it says a green and yellow feathered parrot. Oh, let's make her green and yellow. So she's green and yellow. Whereas the problem says he is only green. All right, so there are their phenotypes. Now let's see what they are genetically. If he's green, he has to be big G, has to be. Because if he carried the Y, then he would express it because it's codominant. Whereas she is green and yellow, therefore she is G, Y. Let's see what their Punnett square is. So let's put her contribution on the side. He only offers G's. Right? Bring these alleles together. Fertilization could be big G. Fertilization could be big G. Could be big GY or big GY. So for their children, it's a 50-50 split. All right, so the problem then asks for step 5, the problem asks for the phenotypic ratio. The problem doesn't ask for genotypic. We can do that. So phenotypic ratio. Three phenotypes. Now, if we were to list the genotypes, it'd be GG, GY, YY. So the GG, or the green, comes first. This would be green feathers. This would be green and yellow feathers. I guess I'm capitalizing that one. And then this is yellow feathers. Like such. All right, so how many of these individuals are green? That one's green. That one's green. So 2. What about green and yellow? That one's green and yellow. That one's green and yellow for 2. How many are just yellow? 0. So there's question number 3. Just like in problem set number 1, if you could go through and list your steps of define the alleles, show your parents, Punnett square, and then answer the question for 1 through 6 on genetics problem set number 2 about codominance. Go get them.